Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. So today I am doing my updated and final 2020 Senate prediction video. Um, the election's coming up on this upcoming Tuesday, and the map hasn't changed too much, so I figured I could probably make the last video now. I'm recording this Wednesday, but I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to upload it yet. But yeah, so if anything happens in the next like 3 or 4 days and I don't have time to let you know, sorry, kind of got screwed over by the news, I guess. But so final Senate prediction. Democrats start off with 35, Republicans have 30. I'm going to go through these states, go a little more in depth this time than usual because this is the final one, but some states we know is going to happen. So the state of Oregon, Jeff Merkley, we know is going to be blue. New Mexico might be a little closer than the polls suggest, but Ben Ray Lujan, who is the Democrat nominee, he's polling well ahead of his Republican challenger. I would expect him to win here, probably in a safe margin. I'm going to do all the Democrat safe states while I'm at, actually. Illinois, Dick Durbin, incumbent, longtime incumbent. He's going to win here. Not going to be too competitive. Delaware, I believe it's Chris Coons. I believe he's going to win. Cory Booker in New Jersey, he's going to win, no doubt about it. I believe it's Jack Reed, I think, in Rhode Island. He's going to win. Ed Markey defeated Joe Kennedy in the primary, going up against Republican Kevin O'Connor. He's going to win in Mass. Um, New Hampshire, I think that Republican Corky Messner, he's might overperform the polls a little bit. However, Gene Shaheen is polling far ahead, so I feel comfortable putting it in the safe column for now. So Democrats are up to 43. And I'm actually going to put Virginia Mark Warner versus Daniel Gade. I'm going to put this in the safe column as well. Um, Daniel Gade, from what I hear, is a good Republican candidate. However, the Republicans aren't really contesting Virginia. It's been trending blue. It's been abundantly clear. And I think the governor's race was kind of the last realization of that in 2017 is that Virginia is going blue and Republicans aren't winning it for a very long time. So President Trump hasn't even really campaigned in Virginia too much throughout this campaign. So Virginia's going to go safe blue probably. So with all the safe blues, the Democrats get up to 44, so they're already in pretty good standing. However, the Republicans do have some safe seats as well. Idaho will be safe. Wyoming will be safe. South Dakota, I believe this is Mike Rounds, the Republican, I believe. Yeah, he'll be safe here. Ben Sass in Nebraska, that'll be safe. Kansas, I'm going to come back to because I don't necessarily think it's safe at this moment. Jim Inhofe in Oklahoma, that'll be safe. Texas, John Cornyn, same situation as Kansas. I'm going to come back to it. Bill Cassidy in Louisiana, he should win safe. Tom Cotton doesn't even have a Democratic challenger, so he's going to win safe. Mississippi, I've seen some polls where Cindy Hyde-Smith is not polling too great, so she's only ahead by a likely margin. But I think combined with the fact that it's Mississippi, but it's in a presidential election this time, I think she'll end up winning safe, given the nationalized environment. Alabama, Alabama I'm going to come back to. Tennessee will go safe for Bill Hagerty. Shelley Moore, Capito will win. West Virginia safe. And lastly, the last safe state I want to say is the state. Actually, yeah, no. Kentucky, however, forget what I'm saying. Kentucky, Mitch McConnell, he's going to win safe. Very unpopular. Polls show it, but he's very powerful. He's got a lot of money. He was able to overcome similar situations in 2014, and he's going to do it again. Mitch McConnell is going to win safe in Kentucky. And Alabama, Democratic Senator Doug Jones going up against Republican Tommy Tuberville. There have been very few polls out of this race. The one that they did do showed Tommy Tuberville is crushing Doug Jones. The Democrats have already acknowledged this race is gone. It's going safe for the Republicans. So that gets Democrats 44, Republicans up to 42. So what do we know so far as for which states are going likely? Well, I think John Cornyn in Texas right now is likely. John Cornyn is more popular than Ted Cruz is. He's overperforming Ted Cruz and President Trump both. And I just think that I don't want to put it in safe because I want to be hesitant because it is a national election, so it should be closer than, say, if it was like a midterm or something. But if John Cornyn was running in a midterm, excuse me, because I know 2018 was really close. But also, their candidate, MJ Hagar, is not like Beto. She's not really making it too competitive. So I would put Texas in likely for right now. Kansas with Roger Marshall, I would also put in likely for right now. It's closer to safe than it is to likely. I know the polls show a very close and contested race, but you can't just look at the poll and say, "Oh, look, it's going to be really close." You have to look at historical trends, and Kansas is one of those states where the Senate polls are often really, really close. Like back in 2014, it was as well. But then on election day, um, Pat Roberts like totally blew out his opponent, and I expect Roger Marshall will do something similar in Kansas. Now, I think that's all the likely states where the Republicans. Actually, Dan Sullivan in Alaska, I would also put in the likely column for right now. His Democratic opponent is doing very well compared to what many people expected. So Alaska could be close, but I'm going to put it in the likely column for now. So Republicans get up to 45 likely seats. Democrats now 44. Democrats are going to win Colorado, likely, in my opinion. John Hickenlooper, he's got some scandals that may be weighing him down a little bit, but Cory Gardner is not too popular. He won last time in a Republican wave year in 2014 with less than 50% of the vote when Colorado was more favorable before all the age of Trump and stuff. Trump is not going to win Colorado. He's not even campaigning in it. Cory Gardner is going to lose, and I think a likely margin is a pretty fair margin to give him. The state of Minnesota, very narrowly in the likely column, but I would put Minnesota in the likely column as well. Minnesota, I think, is a race that in the polls is a pretty big blowout, but I could see getting closer actually on election day and kind of being like how did we miss this race? This was actually closer than we thought. And I think that Minnesota will go likely probably like 6% or 7% win, like 54-46 or 53-47, somewhere in that range. I think Minnesota will get close, but nonetheless, Tina Smith will win re-election and will go back for and will actually get elected to a 6-year term in D.C. So, yeah, 46-45 right now. I think that all about does it for all the likely states. So, first off, I want to start off with the state of South Carolina. Jamie Harrison, the Democrats, running a very good race right now. Lindsey Graham has not been polling too well. However, and I do want to caution you this, it is South Carolina. It is a presidential election year, so President Trump's going to win South Carolina by a lot. And whether Lindsey Graham is unpopular or not, I think this confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett helps Lindsey Graham with some of the Republicans who don't like him. And I think he's kind of the opposite of Susan Collins, where he's unpopular in a red state. Susan Collins is unpopular in a blue state. But Lindsey Graham has enough Republicans that I think he'll be able to win by a lean to likely margin on Election Day. Closer to likely than tilt, but I think Lindsey Graham will win South Carolina. The state of Arizona, President Trump, he's been doing his rallies a lot. He just did 2 today in Arizona. He's trying to help Martha McSally win this race. I mean, I've said this many, many times. If you're a returning video watcher, you know I've said this several times before. Martha McSally, she's got a great resume, but she's just not a very strong candidate in Arizona. The people of Arizona don't really like her, and they're going to vote her out again. They're going to put in Mark Kelly as a new senator. I did drop this down from likely. It is in the lean column again because I think it is getting closer as President Trump improves in the polls in Arizona. I think the Senate race is getting closer as well. However, I do expect Mark Kelly to win and pick off the Senate seat in Arizona. Next, we're going to go up to the state of Montana. Steve Bullock, the former Democratic governor who's not eligible for re-election, is running for the Senate against Steve Daines, the incumbent Republican senator. If you're paying attention to the 2018 midterms, this is kind of the reverse of the Florida race, where there is a Democratic incumbent senator and the retiring Republican governor decided to run, Rick Scott. Rick Scott actually won that race, very close, but he did win that race and is now the senator. The only differences in this is Montana, even though it does have a track record at voting for Democrats, and it did actually elect Steve Bullock back in 2016, but that's a governor's race. And a governor's race, in my opinion, is different than a Senate race in a national election. Not to mention Greg Gianforte, the Republican, who I might do a video on that and make it a really quick one. Greg Gianforte is projected to win that race anyway. So I think that Steve Daines does hold on and win Montana's Senate race in a lean margin. as I think he and President Trump and Greg Gianforte will all win. And Steve Bullock will run a very close race, but he will narrowly lose in the lean margin. So right now, Republicans and Democrats are tied at 47 seats each. We're going to go up to... Actually, we're going to go to Georgia first. Georgia, so David Perdue has outperformed President Trump in most polls in Georgia. I think Georgia is going to be a bigger margin than the polls suggest. I think Georgia is a state where a lot of the polls show it's a lot closer than it often is. 2018 was one of the only times it actually lived up to it, but President Trump will have more Republican turnout this time around. I think David Perdue does beat Jon Ossoff by a tilt margin. While I'm at Georgia, I also think the special election, I think it'll be Ralph Warnock will be the Democrat runoff nominee, and then it's either Kelly Loeffler or Doug Collins. I almost said Susan Collins. Doug Collins or Kelly Loeffler. I'm going back and forth every other day on who I think is going to win this one. I'm just going to bite the bullet and say Doug Collins wins the Republican side very narrowly and goes off to face Ralph Warnock, in which case I think Doug Collins will win in a lean margin. I think Kelly Loeffler or Doug Collins, it's going to be a lean Republican win, 2 or 3% max probably against Ralph Warnock, who is a very good Democrat candidate. So that gets the Republicans to 49, Democrats get 47. If President Trump wins re-election, Republicans only need one more seat to have a majority in the U.S. Senate. However, we're going to go to Maine. Susan Collins in Maine, Sarah Gideon. Susan Collins is very unpopular, the second most unpopular senator in the whole country next to Mitch McConnell. She has been losing for a long time. She is not led in a very, very long time. Not to mention, Maine does have a ranked choice voting system, which means that if no candidate gets 50% of the vote, you pick your second favorite candidate. And say if you vote for a third party candidate, your second choice would be who you would like to see win, if not that candidate. So, for instance, if you don't like Susan Collins and you vote a third party, you'll vote for Sarah Gideon because you don't like Collins. And that ends up benefiting Sarah Gideon. Personally, my opinion, I'm not a fan of the system. I think it's stupid. I think it's unnecessary and an extra step that makes one-party states a lot more likely. I think we need to have both competitive parties in every state to make things fair. But that's not really the point. The point being, Susan Collins, very unpopular. Sarah Gideon, she's running a good race. She's going to beat Susan Collins, I think. And she's going to win by about 3 or 4 percentage points on Election Day. If not, I will say this, though. On the first ballot, if Susan Collins does not win outright, she will not win. The way ranked choice voting works is Susan Collins, if she does not get 50% of the first ballot, she will lose. You can take it to the bank right now. So Republicans have 49, Democrats have 48. The state of Iowa, Joni Ernst. This is one where I think a lot of people might disagree with me. I still think Joni Ernst has this win in the bag, and this is why. President Trump is going to win Iowa. We pretty much all know this. Joni Ernst is underperforming President Trump. However, we saw this in 2014 as well. Iowa's polls are very, very wacky, especially in the Senate races. Joni Ernst was supposed to lose in 2014, and she ended up winning by about 6%. And Kim Reynolds, the governor, was losing in 2018, and she ended up winning by about 3 or 4%. Iowa's polls underpoll Republicans for some reason, and I think that Joni Ernst will be able to pull off the win in the lean margin on Election Day. So that gets Republicans to 50, Democrats at 48. The state of North Carolina, Tom Tillis has been underperforming President Trump for a long, long time. And to me, I see this as a Dean Heller from 2018 situation where President Trump may campaign there. He'll try and get people to go vote for Tom Tillis. I just don't see it being enough. Cal Cunningham, mind you, has a scandal going on, and he's still leading in the polls. He's still winning. And I just don't see Tom Tillis pulling this race out. It's possible, but I just don't see it at this time. So Republicans at 50, Democrats at 49. We come down to Michigan. Michigan is where I have the most change of heart. I thought a few weeks ago John James was going to lose, maybe by a likely margin. John James is running a very good race. He is one of the best rising star Republican candidates in the whole Republican Party. I could absolutely see John James pulling this race out on Election Day. However, I'm still going to give it to Gary Peters. I'm tempted to put it in the lean to tilt margin. It's very, very close. But I am going to give it to Gary Peters at this time. But I could absolutely see John James potentially pulling an upset. And this being like the, whoa, I can't believe this guy won. I could see Michigan being that race. So right now, my final Senate projection is I have Republicans getting 50 Senate seats, Democrats getting 50, and control the Senate depending on whoever wins the White House, either President Trump and then Mike Pence would be president of the Senate, or Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would be president of the Senate. So, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like this video and subscribe so you always get notified when I post a new video. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one.